What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. This one is going to be super casual. I'm literally sitting here on the floor, got my microphone on my hoodie tassels, and yeah, we're gonna make this one a little bit more laid back. But what I want to talk to you about today is the whole notion of sustainability. Right now, this is something I talk about a lot. You know, I want to help people create sustainable physical transformations, right? Meaning we get a result and then we can actually keep that long term. However, I've been thinking about sustainability in a very different way, and that's come about through my own journey at the moment. You know, if you guys follow me, you'll know that I'm, roughly halfway at the time of recording this video into a physical transformation, into a fat loss journey to get myself to a point that I've never been before, right? I've always had this idea or this wondering of what would I look like around like 92 to 95 kilos. You know, I've been sitting at anywhere from 102 to like 107 at my heaviest for probably the last 3 or 4 years. And I've often stopped myself from really committing to this because I was so caught up on achieving balance. Right? I wanted to be balanced with my training, balanced with my nutrition, being able to go out still, being able to, take it day by day and what feels good for me in that moment. And that's great. And I'm so glad I've done that. And there's going to be times and seasons, coming up in my life where I do that again. And specifically after this fat loss block during summer, like that's what I plan to do. But what I really started to understand was that was really holding me back from pushing my potential. And I'm now in this phase where I call it my prove it phase, right? My prove it phase where I'm like, no, you need to, go hard at something and prove to yourself what you're capable of. And for me to be able to do that, I need to get out of this headspace that I need to have everything be sustainable and everything needs to be balanced. If you think about the greats of any industry, if you think about the great, sporting icons or, anyone that is at the top of their field, they haven't gotten there. They haven't achieved the results they got from always having balance. Like Kobe Bryant is one of my absolute idols. I have I don't know if you can really see that. I have his number and quote tattooed on my arm here, but he was obsessed. Right, obsessed with basketball, obsessed with getting better. He would win a championship and he'd be back training the next day because he was pushing himself to achieve his absolute best, right? And to prove to himself of what he could accomplish in his life, right? And perhaps we don't quite need to take that Kobe Bryant, that Mamba mentality to that extreme into what we do day to day. But that's the perfect example, right? And I came to this conclusion. I made a promise to myself at the start of this current cut that I was going to stop trying to balance everything, that I was going to actually allow myself to commit to this journey to see where I could get to, knowing full well that in the process of this, like this is more than just about losing body fat and looking great. It's about, cool, what can I do when I set my mind to it? Right? And how can I take the lessons I learn and the man I become in this journey into the rest of my life, into my business, into my content, into my relationships, and into life as a whole. And sustainability is, it's everywhere, right? People are always worried about, I just want to achieve a result that's sustainable, right? And I hear you, and that's 100% fair enough. And if you're someone that is just looking to lose a bit of weight and that balance of like social life and food and training and just being healthy, if that's your main priority, then that's awesome, right? Then I like hand on heart, continue doing that, find your way to create balance, chip away at your weight or whatever it might be, right? But if you're someone that's watching this that has that little itch, that's like, I would love to see what I'm capable of physically. Like I would love to see myself at this weight or looking like this with this level of confidence, right? Or I'd love to just see what happens if I fully commit for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, right? Now, that's great, right? And I would really encourage that, but you need to understand the enemy of that is going to be sustainability, right? Now, let me explain this because you might hear that and be like, well, that makes no sense. I don't just want to create the body and then lose it all, right? I hear that. Again, I'm just going to keep using myself as an example because it's going to work. But for me to get to this body, right? The outcome I'm chasing, which is around, 92 to 95 kilos, for me to get there, I'm going to have to do things, and I'm currently doing things that I'm not going to be doing forever. Right? I'm not going to always be eating this low. I'm not always going to be doing the amount of cardio I'm doing every single day, right? I'm not always going to be saying no as frequent as I am to going out for dinner, right? I understand that, but right now, my priority is this mission that I am currently on. So of course that's not going to be sustainable. So I don't need to think of it that way. In terms of maintaining the body at the end of this, to me, even that's like, I actually don't want to maintain the body I'm going to be at the end of this, because it's going to be brought about by some unsustainable methods. It's more the person I'm becoming and kind of creating a new foundation and platform for my body, you know, by losing a bunch of body fat. But even that body at the end, like, I actually don't want that to be sustainable. I want a version just back from that to be what my sort of maintenance and what I normalize is. But that real end of the spectrum, it's not going to be sustainable, and that's okay. And what I wanted to sort of get across in this video, and this is something I've spoken about to clients, and it's something I've been sitting on too, and it's essentially why I do so much of the inner work when I work with people in a one-on-one capacity, and that we're going to be going through in the Proving Ground, which is my version of an 8-week challenge where I go through all this stuff. There's a link down below to get yourself on the wait list for more information if you are interested in that. For me, the sustainability factor is more about who I am as a person, and the version of myself that I am internally. That is going to be where the sustainability comes. Now, what I mean by that is, you know, people will lose weight, they'll get to the end, and then there'll be this moment where they're like, oh, well, what do I do now? Because I've achieved my goal. Haven't really set a new one. I don't really know what I'm working towards. And they kind of panic, right? And it's very easy in that moment to go back to old habits, to eat a lot of food, to put the weight back on, and to kind of, you know, basically essentially waste that transformation because they just go back to who they were, right? Now, that's got nothing to do with the way they ate to get there, their food or their training or anything. It's got everything to do with the version of themselves that they still are at that point, right? They've changed their body, but maybe nothing else has changed. So for me, I know when I get to the end of this cut and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, mentally, I'm going to be like, this is awesome. Like, I'm absolutely stoked with myself. But I have so much trust in myself to then be like, okay, cool. What do I need to do to get through this little sort of in-between period now? Like, what do I need to do to make sure I never go back to who I was at 107 kilos, right? I have so much trust within myself to be able to navigate that I don't need to worry about the body or what I'm doing to be sustainable, because I'm going to get so many more benefits out of this than to just sit in this state of balance all the time. And I had a great example of this with a one-on-one client, premium mentoring client that's just finished up. And I remember in week 1, she was like asking me questions. We're in week 1, so we'd barely started. And she was like, I just want to know, like, what do I do at the end of this? Like, what am I going to do in week 16? Like, how do I maintain this, or what do I do next? And I could hear it. She was getting in her head, which is ego trying to basically stop her from even starting this journey, because you're already thinking 4 months in advance of what am I going to do when, you know, like, how am I going to maintain this? And I was already getting in her head, making her doubt herself, making her wonder if she was even capable of doing this, right? And this happens so frequently when you commit to something like this. Your ego is always going to be trying to keep you where you are. And this is just another tactic of it. And I said to her, I said, look, I don't know, because I don't know where you're going to be by that point. I don't know what we're even going to need to maintain, where you're going to be mentally. I said, I promise you, we will go through whatever we need to go through then, based on where you're at and what I think you need to move on to the next chapter to normalize this version of yourself. I said, I guarantee you're going to be fine. And the reason I knew that was because I knew the work we were about to do for me to help her become a woman that was going to be just fine in this next phase and is going to be even more motivated. And we had our wrap-up call last night, and I've shared some stuff about this on socials, where she was just in tears of gratitude for myself, but more so for herself, for what she'd done, the position she'd gotten herself into in every area of her life. And I said to her, I was like, now, like, do you worry about this being sustainable? And she just laughed, because it was like, of course I don't. She's like, you know, she's become this version of herself that is so empowered, is so motivated, is so clear on continuing this and moving on to the next thing, that those questions she was asking were completely irrelevant, right? She has so much trust within herself, and she's at a place now where she's wanting to basically do what I'm doing, which is go all in and prioritize her body. Like, she's lost weight in the 16 weeks, not as much as she wants to, but now she's in a place, she's got the inner world, she's got the mindset, she's changed her narrative, she's changed her story to actually give herself permission to be like, yeah, for the next 8 weeks, like, my body is my priority. I'm going to be as perfect as I can with my calories, with my training, and go absolutely all in on building the best body that I can. And the reason she can do this now and feel so confident and committed to it is because she has that much trust within herself that when that's done, she knows she's going to be able to get out of that, right? To maintain as much of that body as she can and get herself back to baseline. Whereas if she was still worried about sustainability, she wouldn't even think about doing that. Right? She'd be too worried about finding balance and just staying as she is, which so many people do. So of course, there's elements to this, and like everyone's different. There's going to be nuance here when it comes to sustainability, but like obviously we want to make sure we're eating in a way that isn't like completely left field. We want to integrate our nutrition as much as we can into our life, right? That goes without saying. We want to make sure we're training in a way that, again, we can integrate that into our life at the end. We don't want to be training twice a day, 7 days a week. We don't want to be doing 5 hours of cardio, whatever it is. That's the sustainability part, and we want to make sure that we can then take that into the next phase, of course. But when it comes to the results we're achieving, we just need to get out of this everything needs to be sustainable headspace, because it will derail you like it did for me for the last 3 or 4 years. Well, not derail me, but it just kept me in a state where I was not really pushing myself. And I think it's so important for us to do that from time to time. And I spoke about it before, but what do you need to prove to yourself that you can do? For me, I want to prove to myself that I can lock in, I can be disciplined, I can stay motivated, stay hungry, stay consistent to get down to 92 to 95 kilos. The kilos are irrelevant, right? But it's setting myself that target and knowing that I'm going to do things that aren't necessarily sustainable, but they're going to get me to a place so I could really see like, wow, like if you can do this, like what's next? Like what else can we do now that we've accomplished this? And there is so much beauty in that. There's so much power in that. And honestly, I think it's something that everyone should do at one point or another. And it might not be with your body. It might be in your business. It might be, I don't know, maybe you want to launch a podcast and you want to record an episode every day, or I don't know, whatever it is for you. But I'm talking specifically about body here because this, this is what I do. I think, yeah, sustainability is more about who you are, who you become, and doing that work to create that version of you, rather than like, oh, like, is this food sustainable? Like, is not eating out sustainable? It's like, well, no, it's not. It's not supposed to be, and it's not going to be, right? But you're missing the point. So that's my take on it. Would love to hear yours. And yeah, as I said, if you're in this place now where you're like, yeah, I feel like I've been coasting for a little bit too long. I'm sick of being, some days are good if I'm having a good body day and other days are not. And I still have these insecurities that run my story, that get in my head and make me, feel not super confident within myself. And you've got these pieces that just still don't feel like you're in a place you want to be and in a body you want to be, then go down below, find the Proving Ground waitlist, get yourself on that. It's going to be the place to be for people that want to do that, right? Now, I'm recording this video on 13th of September. So the first cohort, the enrollment's open October 1st and we kick off October 10th. So if you're watching this after that, there'll probably be another waitlist for the next cohort, but that's the timeline. And the whole point of the Proving Ground is to get your physical results. So you're going to get your training, you're going to get your nutrition, your calories, so you can achieve the result. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to change your story. So that's essentially all the inner work to become that version of yourself that is empowered, is strong, is connected, is, able to find that worthiness and value within themselves, and a whole bunch of other things we do to create a story that's going to benefit you and propel you forward in life. Right, and obviously you're going to be surrounded by other people wanting to push themselves and do the same. We're going to have an awesome community in there. There's a few other things that we're going to be doing that are going to be next level. And it's my interpretation of an 8-week challenge, because I think a lot of them aren't done well. And we hear a lot of people that get great results within an 8-week challenge, but then lose it all. Again, I don't think that has much to do, or as much to do with the training and nutrition, but it has everything to do with that this was just not grown as their body changed. They were not taught how to do that. Their story stayed the same as it was back in week 1, which was full of doubt, fear, self-sabotage, and all these different things, right? It was just their body that changed. In the Proving Ground, we're going to be changing everything so you can achieve the body and continue bettering yourself well and truly, after that. Yeah, that's where I'm going to wrap this video up, guys. I hope you found this valuable. I'd love to hear, your feedback, any comments, drop them down below. Got any more direct questions, again, feel free to DM me, and catch you guys in the next video.